This happened when I started college in August of 2023. I knew it would be different from high school, and that made me a little nervous. If I'm being honest, most of my anxiety came from meeting my new roommate. What if we didn't get along? What if he didn't like me? Or worse, what if the vibe was just awkward? Little did I know, that would be the least of my worries. Anyway, I walked into my dorm for the first time and almost immediately felt a sense of relief. My roommate had arrived the day before and already had his stuff unpacked. He immediately stood up, walked over to me and said, "I'm Jake, what's up, roomie?" and gave me a fist bump and a smile. Jake was chill, and I could already tell he was the type of person that I'd get along with. He had his laptop open on his desk and he was actually watching a YouTube adventure channel that I really liked, so it was another good sign. I noticed a bag of Skittles he had emptied out on his desk. He had arranged them all by color into little piles. I actually noticed the purple ones were missing. I asked him about it and he casually shrugged it off, saying it was just something weird that he did. I joked that at least my roommate wasn't a psycho, and he laughed it off and said, "Oh, just wait and see." At that time I didn't think much of it, but looking back, those words send chills up my spine. Over the next few months, Jake and I actually became really good friends, like best friends. We had a lot of similar interests, liked the same video games, etc. On weekends, we'd go to the local bar that was really close to campus, and when there was a party, we'd always go together. Thinking back, I never really had a friend as close as Jake. One night in particular, he was sitting at a desk in our dorm room and I was laying on my bed scrolling through Instagram. Jake was watching a government-related conspiracy video. Aside from thinking that this was slightly out of the norm for him, I didn't think much of it. I'm not sure if it was a new curiosity of his or if he was just getting more comfortable around me and didn't care if I noticed or not. As time passed though, he started watching more and more of these videos. I even saw that he joined some conspiracy-related subreddits. That semester, Jake had a Friday class that started at 6 p.m., which he always complained about for obvious reasons. One Friday, he got an email from his professor that the class was cancelled. I remember being excited because this meant we could start the weekend early. I asked him if he wanted to grab some food and then hit the bar, but to my surprise, he said he just wasn't feeling it. This was strange for Jake because almost every Friday we had done this, and it had almost become a kind of tradition. Still, I didn't think too much of it. I figured maybe there was something going on with his family back home, or that he was having girl trouble. Not wanting to go out alone, I stayed in that night, and Jake just scrolled through Reddit boards for hours, only taking breaks to get Skittles from the vending machine in the hallway. Weeks passed and Jake became more and more distant, often staying up until 3 a.m. watching videos and reading conspiracy theories. He lost weight, and I could tell by the dark circles under his eyes that he wasn't getting nearly enough sleep. I decided to confront him and ask him what was going on. He was really short with me, almost dismissive, and just said, "It's personal stuff, don't worry about it." It was after that he almost completely stopped hanging out with me. We didn't laugh or joke anymore, and he never wanted to go out to the bar. His behavior just got super strange and almost paranoid. I remember one night I woke up at 4 a.m. and Jake was sitting up in his bed peeking through the blinds behind his headboard. I watched him for a minute and he didn't move at all. I got the impression that he had been in the same position for a very long time. It actually sent chills down my spine. Not wanting to pry, I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. As the days passed, Jake continued to get more and more distant, losing weight and barely showering or eating. Eventually, I started going out with new friends as Jake stayed in the dorm. I felt really sad. He was my best friend, and I felt like I'd abandoned him. Even when I was out partying, I felt guilty for leaving him back at the dorm. I'd text him to let him know where I was in case he changed his mind and wanted to come out, but over time, he stopped answering my texts altogether. One Tuesday, I returned to the dorm after my morning class, expecting to find Jake sitting at his desk, glued to his computer screen. But to my surprise, he wasn't there. This was super out of the norm, so I sent him a text but got no reply. It was then I noticed his laptop was gone. This set off even more alarm bells because he never took that laptop off the desk. He had a separate computer that he'd used for school assignments. I checked his bag that was laying on his bed, and his school computer was still there. Convinced something was off, I walked over to the campus security office to tell them about the situation. Unsurprisingly, though, they didn't seem too concerned and told me to come back tomorrow if he still hadn't showed up. I didn't sleep much that night, and I kept checking my phone for an answer from Jake, but that never came. The next morning, I returned to the security office to let them know he still hadn't come back. This time, the main guy at the desk looked more concerned. He motioned for me to follow, and he brought me into a back room with a couple of chairs and a table. He told me he'd take an incident report and asked me to explain the situation and if I had any idea on where Jake could have gone. I told him everything, that Jake had been acting very strange for the past couple of months, not being social and seemed almost paranoid. After I gave my statement, the security guard asked for my number and thanked me. He said they'd look into it and they'd call me if they needed any extra information. I went back to the dorm, laid on my bed, and couldn't stop thinking about what may have happened to Jake or where he went. I tried to convince myself that maybe he had met a girl and stayed at her place overnight, but that didn't explain why he'd have taken his laptop. I'm not sure how, but my gut told me something was very wrong. I know this probably wasn't the right thing to do, but I was really concerned, so I decided to take a look through Jake's desk to see if I could find anything that would give me any clues as to where he went. In the desk drawer, there wasn't much. A few paper clips, a fidget spinner, a lighter, some empty Skittles wrappers, and his notebook. Since it was the only thing there that might help, I decided to read the journal. To this day, part of me regrets reading it. I think maybe I'd be better off if I just hadn't. The journal was filled, and I mean filled, page after page of nonsensical scribbles. The few parts I could read didn't make sense, but to try to give you an idea, they were conspiracy-related things. Like, one part talked about how the government agency, I can't even remember what he called it, was keeping secrets of the universe, and the meaning of life secret from the general population. From what I could tell, he thought that this had something to do with controlling the people, but that's not even the most disturbing part. When I got close to the end of the journal, a small folded piece of paper that was tucked into the pages fell out onto the floor. I picked it up, unfolded it, and printed on the paper in small black computer font simply read, "Stop your research." Printed under that were the names of his mom, his father, his younger sister, his home address, the high school he attended, and what I assumed to be his social security number. Worst of all, at the bottom was our exact dorm number. I felt dizzy, and I can't even begin to explain the sinking feeling I got in my stomach after reading that. Just then, my phone rang. It was the security office. They told me to make my way there and that they wanted to show me something. When I arrived, the same guy from before and 2 cops were there. My panic only increased as they led me into the same back room. I sat down in front of a laptop with paused security footage on the screen. They played the video. It was footage from the hallway outside of our dorm. The video showed Jake leaving our dorm, walking to the vending machine, buying Skittles, and then walking right back into our room. The cop shut the laptop, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "The problem is, the footage doesn't show Jake coming back out." At this point, I reached into my pocket and gave them the note I had found in Jake's desk. He looked at me a bit suspicious and opened the note. His expression changed to worry as he read. He folded the note up exactly the way it was when I handed it to him and placed it on the table. To my surprise, he didn't ask any more questions. He just told me to sit tight and left the room. Eventually, he came back and informed me that there would be an investigation and that I'd have to spend a couple of days in a different dorm room. The campus director came in and gave me a key to a temporary dorm. I felt completely sick now. I knew something was wrong. As I walked past my old dorm, there were about 4 cop cars, and the door was sectioned off with caution tape. Strangely enough, the police never questioned me again, and I never saw anything about Jake's disappearance in the news. Looking back, I can't help but think that maybe Jake had dug a little too far into one of his conspiracy theories. The way the cops behaved and didn't ask me any questions made me think that they had seen this before or had an idea of what was going on. Jake, his phone, nor his laptop were ever found. I miss my friend, and I think about this every day. If you enjoyed this story, please make sure to check out the other videos on my channel, as well as like and subscribe. Also, let me know if you've had a strange experience with a roommate before. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.